Thank you. Good morning. I want to first thank the MBK of New Rochelle. I want to thank all my friends and family in New Rochelle. As everyone knows, I'm a New Rochelle resident. I'm a product of the New Rochelle school system. So this is what New Rochelle produces. I want to say that I think this is a very timely program and something completely works in line with the judiciary. So what the three of us are going to speak about today is the judicial response to the overrepresentation of youth in the juvenile justice and criminal justice system. All of us know that in light of the statistics, that there's a disproportionate number of children of color, specifically Black and Latino, that are in our system. Specifically, we see the growing number of girls of color, Black and Latina, that are in the juvenile justice system and the criminal justice system. And what we find is that when they do enter the system, there's a tendency for them to get increased petitions filed against them. So how is the judiciary seeking to address this issue? Specifically with different types of programs and services that we know can address the needs of the children. So specifically, when you think about the family court, and I'll use as an example, I've been a judge for over 17 years. At the dispositional phase, and when you hear from Judge Humphrey and when you hear from Judge Rice, it's at the dispositional phase in the family court, and at the dispositional phase at the criminal court, which is the sentencing phase. That is where we begin to implement programs and policies that will affect the life of a child. So what's quite timely is the mentorship. We all know that the statistics clearly show, research show, that if you place in the life of a young person, a mentor, one person, one significant person who they're able to ground with and reach with, that it can have the effect on their life, in addition to all the other services. So what this calls upon for the judiciary is to look at the young person that comes before us and make a determination. Are we going to look at this young person with all of their legal and social issues that brought them before the court and understand that in order to address their issues, we must come from a different perspective? Or are we going to look and make a determination that we will address those issues punitive? What I say to you today, that the three of us have chosen the first, that we believe that the young people that brought into our court are a result of long systemic racism. And let's call it what it is, it's racism. But we've taken the challenge on, and we hope that with you and with your partnership, that we will change the life of these children. We have, in response to the growing number of girls of color in the judicial system, created a court. It's called the GRIP Court. It's gender responsive intervention and partnership. And the P in the partnership is really what we're talking about today. Because we understand that if we haven't had mentors such as like all of you are representing here today, we know that we're not going to be able to change the life of the children. We've been able to partner with Dr. Harris of the Youth Bureau on a county level. We've been meeting with the sororities and fraternities, and some have already began to, in fact, mentor our youth. But we know the needs are greater. And that's one of the reasons why it's important to us that if you feel that your particular program can in fact meet the needs of youth, that we then would ask you at this point to reach out to us so I can leave my information. But I want to say something to you, and many people forget this, and this is the challenge of being a judge. Specifically to this position, it challenges, and the court has great latitude in being able to, at the dispositional phase, change that life. So in other words, I have the ability, and every judge here has the ability to dismiss a case, ACD a case, adjourn in contemplation of dismissal, and in a sense, in line with the second chances that that young person can leave that court as if there was never and have not a record before them. We can't do that unless we have effective, meaningful support from the community. And one last thing, the weak link we found, especially on the county level, is when the child goes back into the community. That's where they seem to fall. We can keep them on probation because it's not the intention of the court to remain in the life of a child forever. It's a temporary fix for a temporary amount of time. So I thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak with you, share a little bit about the program, share a little bit about GRIP, which was based on a research project with NYU and Mr. Judge Humphrey. I say Mr. because he was my county attorney who worked closely with me for the last 6 years. So I'll now turn it over to Judge Humphrey, and I thank everyone for this opportunity. And I know this is my brother's keepers, but you can't forget about our girls. Judge Humphrey.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you all for being pillars of the community and joining us on this forum today. What we do know is that we're at a precipice where we're sitting here today with three African American Black judges that care about the community. We have the opportunity to change this system that we all know is broken, change it for the positive for our children and for our families. One thing that I've learned through the 23 years of working in family court in various positions, is that a particular piece was missing, a particular piece that was important, a piece that we always have understood that should be involved in our family lives. It's our community. The community is what's most important to our children. The community is what's going to uplift our children. The community is what's going to make our children successful. Through research and common sense, what Judge Davidson was able to find out was that we needed our children to have significant others in their lives, other than their parents, significant others, social workers, doctors, lawyers, grandmas, and aunties, individuals that can speak to them in clear, concise, give them guidance, give them support, buy them a pair of shoes, a coat, take them to get a haircut. Simple things that kids need. Kids need a respite away from home. That was what we found was missing from this judicial system. The community support to surround those children when they're not in our courtroom. What we found out, more importantly, is that placement of our children doesn't work. Incarceration doesn't work. Having people in the community that love them, having people in the community that they can talk to, be it a teacher, be it a doctor, be it a grandpa or grandma, someone that they can look up to. These are the resources that we need as we develop this court and move forward to make our children successful. This system has always been a punitive system where we create what we call cookie cutter dispositions and sentencing. What Judge Davidson has done throughout the years is look beyond the cookie cutter system, look at their children, look at the families, see what resources that we have in the community, develop those resources to be able to provide what the families need beyond the judicial system. And in fact, in my opinion, we're secondary because we need your help and your intervention to be able to help these children exit quickly out of the judicial system, whether it be engaging them in school, finding what their school needs are, finding what their goals are. That's what we need. And we need mentorship. We need mentorship, and it may not be the traditional mentorship. It may not be simply someone that takes a child out every week and talks to them. It may be someone that um, may have been in the military, that can tell a child and show them how they apply. What are the skills that they need? What is the physical condition they need to be in? We may need someone to help them fill out college applications. Let them know what a college is. Where are the colleges in the community that they can access? Maybe help them fill out applications for jobs, for a driver's license. Simple things that an auntie, uncle, a mother could do that may not be able to do. But we have community resources there, and that may be you that can help our children. We've just recently started the boys grip court, and Judge Davidson will tell you quickly. I came along with the gender responsive initiative partnership. I didn't come along. I got drug along. But what I did learn quickly was what works for girls always works for the boys. And the boys need the same support and the same guidance that the girls need. So we need strong men and women that can help us in the community, that will take the children as is, that will be able to listen to them and hear. And that is one of the skill sets that being in court with Judge Davidson for the last 17 years in various forms, that's what I've learned from her. And that's what our mentors need to be able to do, is be able to listen to our children and hear them and hear their voice. We as judges can't be significant connections in the same way that you can. We try to develop relationship with the children, but that relationship in the community is what they need to be proactive, to be engaged in creating their own dynamic and their own future. And that's why we need you. Thank you.
So thank you for that, Judge Humphrey. Thank you for your intro, Judge Davidson. I just want to give a shout out to North Carolina Central University School of Law. I know Judge Davidson always bigs up Howard, but I wanted to show my school some love today on this MLK weekend. Judge Humphrey and we did new judges school a year ago, and now today we're here doing this. I think we have another connection. My mother was the family court judge who you kind of took over for, and I took over for in the city court. So we kind of both descended from that line in a sense. So it's great for us to be here today. Shout out to the MBK crew, Henry Wanamaker, Lisa Burden, Colleen Gardefee, Devron Chambers, Nate Adams, Daniel Bonet. You know, when I became a judge, one of the sadder elements of my leaving the city council and going to the bench was having to give up this here with New Rochelle MBK. But just to see how this has grown and flourished over the years, and especially this last year during a pandemic, for us to be able to have this opportunity to have a mentoring expo, a virtual mentoring expo, and to really hone in on the needs of our children here in New Rochelle and having the community come together. So one thing that I have been able to bring to the bench, this is my second year now, in addition to my background with the New Rochelle City Council and MBK New Rochelle, I was also a defense attorney for 14 years. And with that, as a public defender in Mount Vernon, I had significant contacts with justice-involved youth. So one thing I learned pretty early on here in the New Rochelle City Court, and I think it kind of coincides with the new bail reform law, is that when you started to inquire as to what the young person's situation was. So in the city court, we deal with youth, emerging adults, 18 to 24, and you ask them if they're in school, if they're employed, and more times than not, the answer was no. So they were literally disconnected from the services in the community, from the resources in the community. And we were fortunate enough to be able to make initial referrals to the Workforce Development Academy for Youth at the New Rochelle Community Action Program right here at 95 Lincoln, a subsidiary of Westcott. And Dan Bonet and his team with Stephanie Dotel and Christian Gonzalez, they had been a tremendous case management arm for us. So we started off in October. We got off the ground. We now have all of our youth, emerging adults, 18 to 24, sometimes 16 to 24, in a Thursday part called the Opportunity Youth part. Opportunity Youth is a term that I learned in my days with MBK and then President Obama. So now we just literally transported that term, that label, to our part here in New Rochelle. Every Thursday we meet, we have case management, we have services regarding workforce development, we have behavioral health services, we have substance abuse. And one additional element that we want to add on to the program side was a non-programmatic mentor. That has been working out tremendously well. We have about 40 young people in our part. About 15 of them have been placed with mentors. And what we have found so far in this brief period of time is that the mentors motivate these young people to take their lives more seriously. They give them more hope. They allow them to get the resources that they need. They guide them to the programs and the treatment plans that we have set up for them. And so far, so good. We had a young man on Thursday who, when I met in November, he was angry, he was sulking, he had a criminal charge. He was 22 years old. He didn't know why he had to be in court. He didn't know why I was referring him to get help. And we got him a mentor with Rock and Ramen, one of the owners there, Rock and Ramen. Not only is he mentoring him, he provided him with a job. So now he's employed, and he just finished his case on Thursday. And instead of having a criminal record, he was able just to have a traffic ticket and pay $88, no criminal record. He ran to the court to pay that ticket, and the mentorship will continue. What we do with our mentors, we ask them to commit for 1 year. We ask merely to give 4 hours a month, and that includes checking in on your mentee. That includes some peer networking, mentor-to-mentor groups that we have, and the New Rochelle Community Action Partnership has taken the lead role in that, and I'm grateful for that. But we're always looking for more resources. So we are working with the City of New Rochelle, Julie Kavaiser from the Mayor No Brampton's office, City Councilwoman Sarah Kay has been a strong advocate for us, and so far we've been making significant headway. One interesting aspect of our Opportunity Youth part is that usually when you get a sentence called a conditional discharge, it's merely just stay out of trouble for a year. But what we've been doing is keeping track of them over that 12-month period, because we don't want them to fall off. But what we find is that many young people do appreciate staying part of what we have started. And we have, as some people have coined it, we have become a surrogate family here in the OYP for many of these young people. So this is just the beginning. We are putting out the call for mentors. With this particular group of justice-involved youth, we're looking for those who are capable of dealing with justice-involved youth and knowing the challenges that they have. We run the gamut of having young people who have minor charges to young people with more serious charges, from unlawful possessions of marijuana to gun charges. And one thing that I also have noted and found is that it doesn't matter what your charge is. That has no indication on what you're bringing to the table, what your background circumstances are. So we don't take that much into consideration as to what the initial charge is. We look to see what your needs are, where your goals are, what you have going on for you. And we've been able to meticulously match one-to-one mentors right here from the New Rochelle community with young people who are in the OYP. We have some Mount Vernon youth who are getting arrested in New Rochelle as well. So now we're looking to venture out a bit to do some matches with Mount Vernon youth and Mount Vernon mentors, and that's a work in progress. So I want to thank Judge Davidson for allowing us to get this off the ground. I know that she has a larger vision for the 9th Judicial District as it relates to just justice-involved youth from 12 to 24. We're playing our part here in the city of New Rochelle, and the best is yet to come.